Hi everyone, we thought we'd put together a short video just to give you a few ideas of some messy play activities that you can do at home with your children during lockdown. We use a tray for most of our activities. Now we use a colourful tray with a stand that you can buy from Amazon for around £40. You don't have to spend that kind of money. You can use just a shallow tray that you have at home. It doesn't have to be a big tray like the ones that we use, especially if you've only got 1 or 2 children. A high chair tray would work fine if your child's young enough to still be in a high chair. If not, then if you want to try something a bit bigger and a bit more like the sort of thing that we use, you can go to B&Q or a hardware shop similar and buy a builder's tray, which is a fraction of the price of the ones on Amazon. Another trick that we have come across over the years is that it is a lot better for the bank if you just buy a roll of lining paper, again from B&Q or any kind of hardware shop. You can get a huge roll of paper, usually for about £3 or £4, and it's thicker paper too, so you can use it to stand on. You can get it quite wet and it's not likely to rip as much as the usual paper that you'd use, like printer paper. So yeah, get some lining paper and a tray. That's my first advice, I think. My absolute favourite messy play activity of all time is cornflower gloop, or as some people call it, oobleck. Which is literally some cornflour mixed with water. Now it does seem very simple, but when you actually play with it, it's quite intriguing because you can pick it up as a solid and then it drips through as a liquid. And you can hit it and it won't splash, it'll feel really solid, but you can pour it from one container to another very easily. And then it turns to a solid when you apply like a short, sharp force to the surface of it. The best thing about it is that at the very end it dries and you can either just scrape it away or you can dust it off yourselves. It doesn't stain. It can be a little bit dusty. You might need to give everything a little bit of a wipe down afterwards, but the actual goopiness will dry out eventually, and you can either just scrape it off and put it in the bin or water it down and pour it down the sink. We sometimes colour it. You can use food colouring or paint to colour it. We've coloured it with brown to make mud, we've coloured it with black to make engine oil, put lots of nuts and bolts in it and made it into like a car workshop. We've put it in with yellow food colouring and made honey, all different kinds of things like for your imaginative play. We've put it through a colander, which is great because you can lift the colander up and it all drains through. Looks really lovely. And you can use it with sand toys as well, you know, like sieves or those wheels that the sand can go round. It's brilliant with all of those kinds of things. It's great fun, and it's mesmerising for me as well as the children usually. So yeah, that's a great idea. I'd go for that. You literally just put the cornflour in and water it. You'll know when it's ready because you'll be able to hit it and it won't splash, it will feel solid. Another great cheaty slime recipe is mixing cornflour with fabric conditioner. The cheaper the better with the fabric conditioner. It smells divine, and you can stretch it, and it's just got a totally different texture to slime. Feels much softer, and we always use that as our like cheaty slime recipe because it's nice and quick and easy. So it's another good one to give a whirl. We also like to freeze paint, so you can do that in an ice cube tray. You can either layer the paint, so you can make like a rainbow ice cube of the paint, or you can do lots of different colours in different sections. That's good for mixing the colours together, so children can learn about colour mixing. It's great for talking about hot and cold and melting. And you can also put lolly sticks inside, dip the lolly sticks in as you freeze them, which means that they've got something to hold on to if they don't actually want to hold on to the cold paint. But this is a great one to be used on the lining paper if you spread it all around, especially in the garden on a really hot sunny day. We also like to use the lining paper if you tape it down to the floor. We like to do printing with everyday objects. You could use vegetables like potato printing. If you cut down some leeks or some broccoli or anything really, just have an experiment if you've got any food to spare. Or another thing that we do sometimes is we spray the whole of the lining paper with shaving foam and put some paint on top, and then you can mix the colours together and make a great kind of marbling effect, which the children really enjoy. Or alternatively, dip some golf balls or ping pong balls or any kind of balls you have really at home, dip them in the paint and roll them along the paper. This is especially popular with some of the younger ones that are completely ball obsessed, and it gets them interested in messy play when usually all they'd like to do is throw a ball around. Another little trick that we like to do is make our own version of moon sand, which is like that kinetic sand that you can buy in all the toy shops, and it's a big waste of money. But we make ours with just normal flour that you'd buy from the shop. I know it's quite difficult to get hold of at the moment, but if you can, then this is a good idea. And you mix the flour with baby oil. And if you get the consistency right, which I think it's 2 cups of flour to 1 cup of baby oil, if you manage to do that, it's difficult to colour, so you might just have to leave it in like a sandy colour, but you can use it with any sort of sand toys or cookie cutters to make different shapes, or just cups and bowls. You can make shapes with those. You can just use your hands. It's another great one to use, and you can keep that in a sealable container, and it will last for a good couple of weeks as well. If you're worrying about making a mess in your home, you can always put some dry activities out instead of wet activities. So you could use your tray and put some rice, cereal, pasta, chickpeas, anything like that really. And the children just love to pour them from one container to another. You can count how many spoonfuls it takes to fill the bowl. You could use funnels. Empty toilet paper tubes are really good for that. You can do a treasure hunt. So we've got some pirate treasure that we like to bury in the lentils, and the children have to find them. They really enjoy doing that. Something else that's very quick to prepare but takes a long time to do is to freeze an object inside a balloon. So you'd find a small toy, fill a balloon with water, pop the object in, freeze it, and then the following day pop it out, good to be in the garden, and let them either try and excavate it, like dig it out, or put some salt on, watch it dry in the sun. For older children, you could even ask them to guess how long it would take for it to melt, guess what's inside it, and you can colour the water too. So you could put a very small dinosaur in there and freeze it in bright red ice if you wanted to, for example. Don't ever underestimate the fun values of water. You can put bubble bath in the water. You could make it especially warm or especially cold. We put tea bags in ours, sometimes fruity tea bags, which is lovely. It smells nice, colours the water. You can add some teapots and teacups and have a little tea party in the garden. Add some petals and you make some perfume. Or if you do put the bubble bath in, if you put enough of it in, sometimes you can whisk it and make it really, really frothy, and we found that the children love to do that, and then obviously have the bubbles and clap and have bubble showers. Another activity that may be particularly useful to you at the moment, if you haven't already thought about it, is to do some junk modelling with all that recycling that isn't being taken. We found that children love to make their own creations, so if possible let them decide what they'd like to do and just kind of help them if they ask for help, but otherwise just let them lead the way. A lot of 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds love playing with any sort of tape. Masking tape's really handy because you can just rip it, you don't have to worry about cutting it like you do with sellotape. And you can draw over the top of masking tape as well, so once they've made something out of their tubes and their boxes, or whatever else you can find that they can tape together, they can draw on it or paint on it, and yeah, it's good use to all of that recycling that is probably collecting in your houses right now. We hope that you found this video useful and it has provided you with a couple of ideas to help keep busy at home. Please let us know how you're getting on and send us photos of what you get up to. We really love to see the updates. Hopefully it won't be long until we can see you all again.